Sometimes I just feel like glazing. That's it. And for two of my favorite teams, the Canadiens and the Wings, there are quite a few things that we can go out there and glaze. I know some of y'all don't really like each other at some points, especially throughout parts of this season where the wildcard race was heating up for both of these teams. But I want to go out there and talk about some of these players and some of the numbers that we have seen over the past little while and just how good it really is. Because we have been making videos from the Montreal POV talking about Lane Hutson. We'd been talking lots about Ivan Demidov. But of course, we have to give some more love to top line center and captain, Big Something Nick. Because Nick Suzuki was ranked as the second star of the week in today's 3 Stars of the Week presented by Geico post on the NHL PR website. Ovechkin, Suzuki, and Robert Thomas, each as the 1, 2, 3. Ovi, of course, is first because why wouldn't he be? Yeah, I get it. He only scored 5 goals on the week, but I think if there's any point where significance trumps the statistics, this is where it is. The fact that he had scored his 895th NHL goal is a really big deal. But if you skip over to Nick Suzuki, he is second star of the week, 7 points in 4 games played, 4 goals, 3 assists. Robert Thomas had 7 points in 3 games played, 2 goals and 5 assists, as the St. Louis Blues literally forget how to lose a hockey game. Let's go out there and read the Nick Suzuki write-up here. We can skip over Thomas and Ovi for now. I mean, do we need to go out there and talk about Ovi one more time? I don't know. People didn't really care about the last video. But Nick Suzuki, second star of the week. He collected 7 points, including a pair of game-winning goals in 4 games to help the Canadiens extend their winning streak to 5 games dating to March 30th, as they created a 6-point buffer for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. He scored twice, highlighted by his 6th career overtime goal and 5th overtime goal of the season in a 3-2 victory against the Florida Panthers April 1st. Suzuki then registered a goal and an assist for 2 points in each of his next 2 outings, a 4-1 win over the Boston Bruins April 3rd, and a 3-2 triumph versus the Philadelphia Flyers April 5th, which featured his 9th game-winning goal of the campaign. The Montreal captain stretched his point streak to 5 straight contests with 1 assist in a 2-1 victory over the Predators April 6th, marking the team's second 5-game winning streak of the 24-25 season. Nick Suzuki places 13th in the NHL with 84 points through 77 total games this season, the most points by a Canadiens player since Alex Kovalev in 07-08. He also sits among the 24-25 league leaders in overtime goals, tied for second with 5, game-winning goals, tied for third with 9, and assists, tied for 9th with 57. So some of these numbers really start to put it into perspective here. Nick Suzuki, 13th in the NHL in overall points. That is awesome. He's a top 13 point producer, and he's top 10 in assists. I mean, Nick Suzuki, we always knew he had it in him. We always knew he could be a first-line center that is producing like a bona fide first-line center. But I don't think a lot of folks outside of Montreal and the beaten Montreal believed it up until roughly this point of the year. Nick Suzuki has been taking his game to another level, and if it gets to that point where he's continuously able to just stabilize at this level of play, I mean, it's been no secret that he's been super extraordinary the past little while, but if this becomes more of the norm, if we start to see Suzuki carry this pace into next season and beyond, there's no reason why Nick Suzuki can't be a consistent 82-plus point guy who occasionally reaches 90 and who maybe even has one season where he gets 95 or 100. It's not impossible here for Nick Suzuki. But of course, yesterday's game where he had scored an assist against the Nashville Predators was only one of the points that was scored by these Canadiens guys. In fact, the game was going on whilst I was out and about, which is why I didn't end up making a video about it. I probably would have if I was home. But guess what? Yesterday's game against the Predators featured points from Caulfield, Newhook, Hudson, Suzuki, and Patrik Laine. We gotta talk about Laine, man, because with the goal yesterday, scored at 5v5 by the way, Patty Laine is now up to 20 goals on the year. which is kind of a miracle considering the fact that he has only played 47 games. This is a lot more of a goal scorer's mold compared to what we had seen in previous years of Patrik Laine's production and development. He was a goal scorer in Winnipeg who then started to take a little bit of a back seat and he wasn't scoring as much and there was drama with Blake Wheeler. Then he got traded over to Columbus and things were okay there, but he wasn't playing as many games. And now this season, 20 goals in 47 games. If we do the math on that, 20 divvy 47 multiplied out by 82, Patrik Laine would have been on pace for 35 goals on the year, and that is in a spot where you could definitely say he hasn't been his best for a good chunk of the season. Sure, he goes on these crazy runs where he scores 3, 4, 5 goals in however many games, all assisted by Lane Hutson on the power play. But when Laine is not scoring, unfortunately, he's not really doing much else, and there have been some ups and downs this season. It's just more so of an, okay, he's only played 18 games in the past year's worth of hockey type of thing. He needs to get his feet back under him. I think Canadiens fans are a little bit more generous towards Laine just because of the circumstances surrounding him. But if you think about what the upper limit is for Patty Laine at this stage, I mean, Cole Caulfield is at 36 goals this season. Is there a chance that he does that again next year and that Laine is also able to get there? Can Ivan Demidov set Laine up left, right, and center for 40 goals on a season? Could the Canadiens get 2 35-plus goal guys next year? I think it's very well possible. And then it depends on if Ivan Demidov decides to score a whole bunch of goals too. Anyways, let's shift gears over to the Detroit Red Wings and talk about them because we had ourselves another stat that I wanted to dive into here too. This was posted by QC Puckhead earlier this morning. Lucas Raymond needs one more assist to hit 50 on the year. This user went out there and looked back at stats from past seasons, and the last time the Red Wings had a player with 50 assists in a year was Henrik Zetterberg in 16-17. Zetterberg went 17 goals, 51 assists for 68 points in 82 games that season. Raymond is at 26 goals and 49 assists for 75 points in 76 games this year. If the Wings can figure out the other winger on the top line, I would think he could hit 90 points next year. This is a really good sign, and it's kind of indicative of the super Swedes that have suited up for the Detroit Red Wings over the past little while. Lucas Raymond has been a monster. We talk about this every opportunity we get because as long as he starts breaking records and putting up numbers that we haven't seen in a Wings jersey in almost a decade, really, it's kind of rough to say that, but almost a decade since the last time a Wings player had 50 assists on the year. But Henrik Zetterberg being the legend that he was in Detroit, it's kind of fitting that his narrative and the statistics are carried by Lucas Raymond 8 seasons later. The comments go out there and talk about some really interesting ideas too, whether or not Larkin and Raymond are the right fit for each other, if they should be separated as a line, if you should try Casper with Raymond instead. There are a whole bunch of ideas. Here's one from R-Sharp7000. After seeing Casper with Raymond, I'm more convinced that Larkin and Raymond should be put on separate lines. They tried it last year to get more than one line scoring, and it didn't work because there was no one else to drive offense with Raymond. Casper has that ability, so I say stick with it. DeBrincat, Larkin, Kane have looked good together, and on paper should be our top line. If Soderblom continues to improve, that line of Soderblom, Casper, and Raymond might be a solid second line. I do still think Soderblom will be a third-line winger that can slot up for injuries, so the team's main focus should be to get a bona fide top 6 left wing, besides the obvious left D, or hope that Buchelnikov can be that next season. This team desperately needs a couple of guys to make a major jump in their development. And I can vibe with that. Acquiring better players always works out well for a team, usually. Not always, but still. A top 6 winger to play alongside of Casper and Raymond with Cat, Larkin, and Kane, assuming Kane comes back, as a first line does sound like a realistically solid top 6. And it's one of these things where you think about Lucas Raymond and his point-producing ability. If he's playing secondary line matchups, then there could be even more of a feast for Raymond and his point production. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, though. How do you feel about these conversations here? Nick Suzuki, Patrik Laine, the points they produce in Montreal. Lucas Raymond doing something that no other wing has done since Henrik Zetterberg. Do you think he's going to get to 50 assists? Okay, he's one away, but How far do you think he takes this, and how many points does he end up getting on the year? Is he a 90-point guy next season for the Detroit Red Wings? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Roll 99, and bye.